Hollywood has made a film based on Matthew Stevens' prophecy. This movie, San Andreas, is being made based on our prophecy that God gave us specifically to tell you to get out.
How did the genesis of this project happen for you? And was it something that happened like super fast, or?
In my soul, I'm sort of an adventure movie writer. I think that's the thing that I like the best out of all the stuff that I do. And I saw kind of instantly the idea of this big earthquake movie being this great adventure story as something that I could really sink my teeth into. And I felt a really personal connection to it. I was living in, Los Angeles, actually in Sherman Oaks in 1994 during the Northridge earthquake. Our kitchen was just covered with glass because all of our dishes had fallen out of the cupboards all over the floor, and it was just, it was so visceral and emotional. I just felt like I could connect into it, and that was the way I approached writing the script, was to find a way to sort of viscerally and emotionally take these characters on a journey that would be sort of people first, earthquake disaster second.
Based on our prophecy, this movie, San Andreas, is being made. And the man on the movie saying, it's time to get out.
Get the hell out of there!
And he says, I tell you that this thing is so strong and so apocalyptic, if you will, that it's not only going to hit the West Coast, but it's going to travel all the way over to the East Coast, just like Matthew Stevens was prophesying when God spoke to me.
Even though it's happening here in California, you will feel it on the East Coast.
Just like Matthew Stevens was prophesying when God spoke to me.
You will feel it on the East Coast.
We'll feel it on the East Coast?
Sorry, ain't gonna happen. The great 1906 earthquake that devastated San Francisco was felt into Nevada, and that's as far east as it got. Nevada, and that's as far east as it got.
It's not only going to hit the West Coast, but it's going to travel all the way over to the East Coast.
Sorry, ain't gonna happen.
You'll see the Port Harbor of New York shaking and the buildings crumbling as the water's shooting up in the air and the whole East Coast gets hit. You better get ready, East Coast.
If everything that happened in this movie could happen for real, what's the point of getting ready? It's all gonna be awful.
Well, June the 9th, 1994 came around, and that was the Bolivian earthquake. A 9.0 earthquake, 9.0 earthquake on the Richter scale. Well, on June the 9th, 1994, there was a 9.0 earthquake in Bolivia. That he gave me the Bolivian earthquake 9.0, 1994, 9.0 earthquake. Back to this thing about June the 9th, 1994. The Bolivian earthquake took place, a 9.0 on the Richter scale. 9.0 earthquake, 9.0 earthquake on the Richter scale. And in 2008, I talked about an earthquake taking place. And before July was out, there was a 6.5 earthquake that shook Los Angeles pretty bad. There was a 6.5 earthquake that shook Los Angeles pretty bad. It was a 6.5 earthquake, and everybody called me a false prophet. It came in, and it hit right there in Russia. And 2,000 people died, and thousands of buildings were destroyed. And 2,000 people died, and those are facts. But now the prophet is vindicated by Fox News' Shepard Smith. If you live on the West Coast, you better get out of there, he said.
Frankly, if I lived right now in the Pacific Northwest, I'd be considering moving.
You better get out of there, he said.
I'd be considering moving.
You better get out of there, he said. This movie, San Andreas, is being made based on our prophecy that God gave us, not only going to hit the West Coast, but it's going to travel all the way over to the East Coast. 9.0 earthquake. There was a 6.5 earthquake.
It jumped to a 7.1.
And 2,000 people died.